to serve the town of Crew. The town of Crew. These are just improvements. This is not running the water line to Crew. This is simply upgrading our system, the raw water system, the intake at the reservoir, and then lines on 10th and Military Road, and then from approximately Rocky Bump Road or at the new armory out on Route 40 back to Main Street would all have to be changed, okay? To give you perspective, we have always been under the presumption that we would establish their rates based on those capital costs, and those capital costs with contingency, there's a 10% contingency, and that's what bumps it up a little bit more, is $26,662,000 estimated in September of 2023. That does not run a water line to Crew. That upgrades our system so that we can provide water to Crew. Bigger pipes, newer pipes, that sort of thing, okay?
Does any of that need to be done already? Is it gonna need to be done
The
anyway?
raw water line needs to be done.
How much is that, if we separate that out?
Raw water line portion of it, construction-wise, is,
13.
14, about
14.
14 million.
So the way I see it is, that's gotta be done anyway. We can't really stick that all on Crew, right?
No, and there would be, in the calculations that were done by, B&B, there's some cost splitting in there for the.
Yeah, we would be paying
All right, I
at
just
or about half of
wanna
the cost.
verify. Okay.
Yeah, we're not sticking all of
No.
everything on Crew, however, the portion that is specific to Crew, a lot of that would
It
be.
was based on consumption.
Based
That
on
is how we factored it in. So we would, they would be, the additional customer would be paying, I think we calculated between 50 and 60% of the cost for it. Okay.
And the bigger portion of that is in those calculations, we, at one point, the state offered to pay for the water line from our town limit, right?
I've got that next.
Oh, you're going for it?
Huh?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. Would you like for me to give the numbers for that too? And then you can do your thing. Blackstone Water System Extension. So we're looking at 26 million to upgrade our system. A good portion of it needs to be done anyhow. Blackstone Water System Extension to Crew or the DOC, Water Service Connection. If I'm looking at this thing right here, it says $21,590,000. And that goes from the industrial park in Blackstone, which is the water tank on Northwest Avenue, to the courthouse in Crew. Okay? When speaking with Phil Miskovic, and I appreciate his frankness, that the replacement of the water lines, basically from the courthouse or Crystal Lake back to the state facilities, was an additional $7 million. If you take those two together, we're pushing $28 million. And the state has said they would put up $24 million. So not only do you have your 26, but you're potentially going to have to pay $4 million towards the upgrade of a 100-year-old water line on the other end of the county.
It's also unclear on whether this part of this $24 million was the part that they agreed to pay for originally. So there's some.
I just truly believe all the risk is being taken by Blackstone. Let's say you guys say, okay, we're going to spend $27 million, okay? And the bids come at 30, the state ain't paying the extra. That's just going to be additional cost to the town for the capital cost because, as I see it, Crew's not interested in taking out debt at this point.
At some point, the town of Blackstone, and I feel like Jake and Philip are in the right direction, that our citizens aren't gonna foot the bill for Crew, I'm sorry.
Well, you would hope that we would structure rates and things that we could be paid back, but there's no payback except paying debt service for the next 20 years. You're not making any money doing it. Man, I just,
Why did,
Excuse me.
Go, Ms. Williams, please.
why do they feel like, why is it felt by the group from Crew that we should foot the whole bill, but it's only benefiting
well,
them?
it benefits us because we would sell water and make money
Yeah, that part.
After the debt service.
Yes.
after the debt service because you're not making any money until you pay up $30 million back or
That part.
$25 million or whatever.
By the time you pay for it, you'll be upgrading the
It's,
plan again.
my biggest concern is that we can get a rate structure established to pay it back. you won't lose money. The problem is, if it costs more, you gotta take on more debt. And even more concerning is if the State Department of Corrections in the next 20 years decided we're closing Piedmont Geriatric, or behavioral health, folks say we're closing Piedmont Geriatric, or if DOC closes that prison, man, you've eaten the whole thing and crew hadn't got any skin in the game at all. I think we can have another conversation with it, but these numbers are daunting, especially in the face that, if you guys remember, we handed out almost $100 of capital projects. $100 million. And subtract off the crew portion of those crew activities, but there's still $100 million worth of work. Taylor's Bottom, $7 million, water and sewer.
Remember,
The raw water line still. Right now, we have about $10 million of principal debt. Principal debt. And that goes down every 2-3 months. We make a payment. We make between $800,000 and $1 million a year in debt service payments. Okay? And we've got our interest rates down to 1% and 2%. So we've,
0% for 40 years, and
Pardon?
we've got some 0% bonds.
you've got some 0% bonds. When we replaced all that in the College, Brunswick, Lunenburg area years ago, we got a 0% deal. So
What point do we throw our hands up and say, if you need us, come to us? But
I
until
thought that was going to
Yeah.
probably be close to tonight because this response for information issued by the state is due back March 8th. Whatever we do with the town of Crew, we got to go. I mean,
I want to
ASAP.
help them, but I don't want the whole county to suffer behind it,
Man,
especially tax-wise.
Yeah, I agree. The only reason I wanna give it one more shot is I wanna make sure that the entirety of Crew, the citizens of Crew, and the entirety of their council understands this decision.
the immensity of
Yes.
the cost.
Do y'all have a meeting scheduled with them between now and the next regular meeting with us?
Not yet. I guess we'll schedule one here very
Well,
shortly.
I think, Mr. Almond, I don't mean to put words in your mouth. I think you want to get some direction from you guys tonight before we go any further. You know, there's several options here. You could just say, that's enough, we put too much time in it, walk away. You know, or you could go the route Mr. Almond's going. So I think he's looking for y'all to discuss this. I just wanna, I had 5 things I wanna get out there and you touched on them, thank you. But the one thing I do wanna stress is you're looking at 6 weeks to provide a proposal that will take up a lot of your time and will be a significant expense.
I think you're going to have to pay engineers appreciable amount of money to put it together.
So,
B&B don't come cheap. And,
If we can make these numbers work, there's some benefits to both parties.
yeah,
In
they
our
could help
original
pay.
proposal, there were some benefits to both parties, but as with Crew putting its foot down right here, there's no longer any benefit for Blackstone.
to try to get us in the right place, if you'll pardon me, how long will it take after you have a consensus from council? How long will it take for you to prepare this RFI? And am I right that it could be upwards of $10,000 to do so?
Yeah, I don't think any later than that February 7th meeting, you got to say go, no go.
Okay,
I would
I
like
really
to,
do.
Well,
I would like to set up a meeting before that February 7th meeting.
okay.
Now, it's limited time, cause I've got some conflicts between now and then, but I would like to get offline or out of here
Okay.
and try to set up a meeting if everybody up here is okay with me.
Well, we
pursuing
had a
this one more
motion,
chance.
we do have a motion, a 7-0 vote to authorize you and I to be liaison for the town. So I think if there's no objection, I'll call Crew tomorrow, see if I can get a meeting with the mayor and the town manager. And I think, you know, if that's the direction you wanna go. If you've had enough, you've had enough. If you wanna go one more attempt, then that's great. So, I need to hear from this end down here. What is y'all's thoughts?
I had a few more questions for the town manager, but if you had anything.
I said what I wanted to say. I want to help them, but not at the expense of the whole county.
Oh, what is our delivery rate that we've offered to them?
$9.17 a thousand. gallons.
9.17, that includes debt service?
It does.
Does, okay.
And that is a little higher than actually what the recommended from our engineers, but this council chose to offer them rates that are equivalent or equal to the in-town rates in the town of Blackstone.
My only question is,
9.17.
between now and then, do we need to reanalyze our offer if it is a little higher? Because if I look at the cost of us making water and the delivery. And I get the debt service is the main thing, but there still should be some wiggle room there. We're not gonna make money back for 25 years anyway. We're not gonna make a dime for 25
You
years.
budgeted correctly.
But
You
is
put
there,
some money in the bank.
is there any
think the-
wiggle room on that number?
I think what you're
make it
gonna
more
benefit
attractive.
from, or what we propose to them that could be beneficial, is them paying half or a little more than half of that raw water line. And when I say they, the state customers, at that or $8.64, but I think council wanted to keep it on par with the, in-town rates in Blackstone.
Let's say they did approve that rate and the project did go on. You're really good at finding grants from like the health department for water. Would that reduce their costs and allow us to renegotiate a lower rate in the
At
future?
some point, yeah, but, those are a year-long process, I mean, it'd take forever.
Right.
Certainly not before March 8th.
Part of the issue is who needs to be going after the grants?
I was just
I was
about
gonna
to
say the same thing.
That's cruise, baby.
That's what I was gonna say. They need to do that.
we-
Thank
Depends on-
you, thank
depends
you,
on where-
because it's benefiting them.
Where the pipe is gonna be at.
It just seems like crew don't want to do nothing. They want us to do it all. That's what it seems to me.
And make us foot the bill.
Well,
The
they made it
county
abundantly
foot the
clear.
bill.
You can read the letter.
Right.
It says, we want to be a wholesale customer. And we don't want any liability.
In other words, we do all the work and they reap the benefits.
Thank
I
you,
own that.
we
I'm
pay the
not-
bill.
I'm not saying you're wrong, cause I read the letter and my patience is getting thin as well. However, I wanted to make sure that we are right in our rate that we are quoting to them,
We're right.
and we're giving them the best rate possible.
$8.64 based on the information that we did. And then it bumped up to $9.17, which is the in-town rate. And I think folks wanted to,
Which it says
Charge
they'll
the same you
return
were
and sell it
charging in
for
town.
$11
Right.
and not do anything.
well, they still have to wheel the
You gotta look at this
The
whole
water
letter in
to the
itself.
prison.
Correct.
And what it's saying is they're not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
And as
We're
our
gonna
rates
do
go
it
up,
all.
as our cost, if our cost was to go up on our water, then theirs would too in
Well,
situation.
what was presented was if we could, for this 24 million, cause there was some of that wasn't in the original calculations, cause we didn't have that number, was to take some of that 24 million and try to knock down some of the costs that affect both our in-town customers and crew. So
and that would drop their rate down.
while I originally said I don't wanna sell water cheaper than we're selling it to our in-town customers, but we bring everyone down. That was the idea, but when crew came out and said, hey, we're taking the whole 24 million to upgrade our stuff, then we.
Actually, it would also run the line to Blackstone in that 24 million.
But it
Yes.
wouldn't do the plan.
It wouldn't do the raw water line, it wouldn't do our upgrades and lines, and I don't think it's enough to get to the prison. So I think that there's gonna be a gap in there that I don't see crew stepping forward and say any differences or gaps that we would fill. So if your bids come in at 30 and you got 24, you gotta borrow another $6 million to make it happen.
Is it an option for, it sounds horrible, but with the situation as it is, for us to pursue providing to the facilities and not crew?
You have that option.
I mean,
And there's
I don't wanna leave them
as
hanging
much
because
as-
they need systems too, but.
I can tell you if that happens, if we propose that, because I think we have every right to submit an RFI that says that. It says we would bypass crew, and we could make a deal with crew, but we want to keep this revenue in the county. And we don't want Prince Edward coming in and being able to steal some of our other water customers, because once they're here,
They're gonna go after Pickett. Their
They don't
intention
even
is
have
to
a water
get
plant
Pickett
from what I
too.
understand, right? Prince Edward?
so there is the option that we've, from the beginning, avoided at all costs, because
Yeah.
we want to help crew as much as we can, but to be frank, we're kind of getting to the wire to where
Well,
we have to decide.
now that those facilities are in Crew's boundary line, are we gonna face the same problem we had over here with Southside Electric?
I think it would be easier than Prince Edward.
Think it'd be easier?
I mean, we're in the county.
So, well, I know, but the state's the one technically building that line.
So, what I need to know is I need to get a consensus. I'm gonna ask for a motion to either suspend our, to basically to stop worrying about the water, or to give, the mayor and manager and Mr. Almond the opportunity to negotiate or to pass our position along. But it's,
I don't think you need a motion. I think general consent, you get
Bring it
that
back
from
on the
us.
7th.
And
well, the
How
the
long
problem
are
with
we-
that
how long
is,
are we
the
gonna
problem
hang-
with
how-
this.
How long are we gonna keep on doing this?
Well,
Well, there's a deadline already,
you got a
so-
deadline. We need to have something solved by the 7th, the meeting on the 7th.
I make a
and
mo-
if we don't have something, the reason I wanna get this done before the meeting on the 7th is because that's gonna be, if we can't make a deal with crew by the meeting on the 7th, I'm gonna open the question to say, do we
Bypass.
bypass?
Or do we
or
just get out? Right.
And I hope, and I want everybody to know that the town of Blackstone will exhaust, as we've shown, all means to help crew out instead of bypass them.
If we wanted to do what's
Remember, excuse me, I think you're also gonna still need some legislation, either from the Board of Supervisors or from the state, allowing one jurisdiction to serve in another jurisdiction.
Right.
I think you're
Right.
still gonna have to have Board of Supervisors on board.
But it's not my intention to burden staff or burden the council's pocketbook if there's no interest in doing so. That's what I'm trying to ascertain.
It's a big project.
I'm
it's
gonna
daunting,
give
it's a
Mr.
big deal.
Page the floor. I believe he has a motion.
Yeah, they're making it a lot less attractive, I agree, but I will motion that we postpone this issue until we can get update from Jake on the 7th.
The 7th. Is there a second? Mr. Nash is seconded. The motion is that, the liaison committee will meet with crew and report back on the 7th, and we postpone any action until that time. I ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Alright,
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Nash, the reason I wanna do that is, I don't like stuff coming back, the ambiguity about it, so. It just takes a minute and a little bit of her time to get us there, so what, I guess we're moving on now to, ongoing projects, is that correct, Mr. Manager?
Correct?
And the first item is, 902 Second Street. Would you please report, save me from my bumbling?
After two extensions, the building continues to have a blighted condition. They started working on it, started yanking aluminum siding out the house, and then quit. We have sent one final letter. If that, I can't remember the deadline. Is it the end of January, Jennifer? End of January. If they don't do it, we're going to petition the court, and we will ask permission to enter the property and remove the structure. Okay.
Is there a
Just like
motion?
we've done many times.
Sorry, Mr. Manager.
I may have to ask Tessie to help us with that. She's set them up before, and I'll ask her if she can help us just navigate getting that submitted.
What's council's pleasure, Mr. Nash?
Move to allow the town manager to proceed on with legal action to remove the structure.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Nguyen seconds. Any more discussion?
would you be willing to amend it, just saying as of January 31st? Because they technically have till the end of the month anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. So amended. The start of that would be January 31st.
Ms. Nguyen, is that agreeable to you?
Yes, sir.
We have a new motion. Mr. Nash moves and Ms. Nguyen second. Is there any more discussion? I'm gonna ask for a roll call vote, the significance of removing property. So I ask for a roll call vote beginning with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Item number 2 is meals tax and lodging tax.
If I may add to
absolutely.
dilapidated buildings very
Oh.
quickly, I was notified that on the 10th of January, Mr. Kofer, the owner of the Dillard Crawley property, was served with papers. He was found in Vance County, North Carolina, and Vance County Sheriff has served him with paperwork concerning the blighted condition of his property.
Well, explain to the lay people up here on the dais what that means next.
I assume we'll be contacted by his attorney, we'll be contacted by him. Maybe there's some negotiation to try to resolve it, but either way, the petition is for a condemnation and a taking of the property. I don't have a date, they haven't given me a court date yet, but I dare say that will be set relatively soon.
Council, you have any questions? Moving right along, you have a report for outstanding meals and lodging tax. We will address these meals tax in closed session later tonight. Item number 3, street improvements, Mr. Manager.
Nothing to report.
Item number 4, Rigglesworth.
I do have 2 items here. When I wrote this last week, I had met with Dan and Jason Stokes to kind of come up with some ideas and costs. You guys had asked me what the final cost to finish the Gators concession stand, and I believe, based on what they've told me, that the interior of the building, including us running our electric service and meter bases and stuff we would typically do, is between $12,000 and $15,000. I think I need to ask you for a little bit more, simply because we've got to put the sewer pump on the property. So there'll need to be a sewer pump to handle the gray water. It's not a bathroom, but so it'll be relatively small, won't be a grinder. And I would say no more than $15 to $20,000 would finish that project.
You've heard the manager's request. He's seeking authorization to solicit bids for asbestos removal within the structure. What's your pleasure?
No.
We're on the concession.
Yeah.
How much did the county give us for that?
That's just
Hold
a
on a minute here now.
concession.
What-
You on the game.
You guys had asked me what it was likely
on,
going to
Riverford.
cost to finish the
What are
concession
you talking
stand.
about?
The Gators concession
Gators
stand.
concession stand.
Okay.
We're going to do the work. Our guys will do all the work. We may have to have somebody put the tank in, but even that I think we can install. So
Okay.
if it's less, it's less. Hopefully it'll be less. But
Where will you see getting the money from?
I'm trying to get you out of here, man.
where are you going to get the money from? I hope it's in the cash, the regular general checking account of the town.
20,000 is for town people to do the work. Isn't their labor already an embedded cost?
That's just materials, man.
Okay,
Yeah, you're talking about AC units.
materials, okay.
How much did the county give us for that? They give us some money in their
It was
budget.
50,000.
That's what it's
And I can
called.
tap into that, but remember, we still gotta buy a scoreboard and some of those other things. But yes, I can use the 50 cash-wise to start with, but we may need to put it back when we get the scoreboard order.
Yeah.
Those bleachers. Has this guy ever gotten back in touch with us?
I've not heard anything back, no. I think there was some questions from the LRA director on how they were acquired through the Nottaway Indian
Right, it was-
powwow or what it
Something
was.
about the native Indians.
Right.
They were gave to them to perform a ceremony, but they have not used them in 10 years. So the question is, can they legally donate them to the Gators? That's the question.
Were they,
I would almost say it needs to be donated to the town of Blackstone. It's where they.
Well, I
need
mean,
to go. No offense to Gators, but it needs
For
to
the
go to
Gators.
town of
but what
Blackstone.
I'm saying is, if that's the whole question, is if they can be donated.
we'll get to it. And Steve,
I think I gave you his name.
So, I think end of the week or the first of the week that Philip and I are gonna meet with Mr. Steve Bowen and Mr. John Rourke about several issues in the county. And I'll press for an answer on the,
But I already told him I was
I
gonna come.
but
I already told him I was gonna come. and get some
I'm
more
gonna
money.
press for an answer.
Yeah.
He
I
was
already
gonna,
told him that.
contact LRA and,
Can we use that? Let's use
But
that.
I had
start
already
to use the
told them that we
50,000
were
for
gonna
this.
come and ask for some more money.
just, when we buy,
I heard that
when
they
we
don't
finish
own
the
those
project,
bleachers.
you may have to
I
throw some in
heard
there.
that they
to
don't
replace
own those
The
bleachers.
cash is
the
available.
county.
There's 50 cash,
They're finding out.
I moved.
I heard that recently.
as much as
The
20,000, not to
Native
exceed 20,000.
American Indians own them.
Hold on just a minute.
Oh,
Hold
yeah.
on just a minute, Ms. Nash.
But the county can't. I heard recently that they don't own those bleachers, so there's nothing they can do with them.
Well, I'm gonna get some
I'm
answers.
gonna get to the bottom of it. He
Okay.
might gotta go out there and see the colonel about it. Because why would you just, our taxpayer dollars just lay out there and rust?
Well, it's on LRA property and we just need to find out who
Right.
owns it.
Right.
And then I'll start pressing some palms and
I
get it
will
done.
too.
All right, good. We'll work together on that. Mr. Nash, you
I
have the floor.
move that we approve of up to $15,000 being taken from the county money, and then, look, I think you can outfit that building for 15 grand.
We're gonna do our best.
And if you need more, obviously you come to us, but
So you talking about taking it from the 50,000?
yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna use that no matter what,
that cash is available.
yeah.
So when we come back and ask you for 50
If the
more
concessions, or if the scoreboard more than what we got left, or any of the finishing
thousand, I think the
issues.
biggest thing is, I'm finding out that the bleachers per se are more than the scoreboard.
Bleachers are very expensive.
Yeah.
That's a big deal to get those bleachers.
That's why we're counting.
All right,
Yeah,
Mr.
well,
Nash,
you know, I'm going up there. I don't have an issue with it.
Mr. Nash has moved. Is there a second? Council, is there a second for this motion?
What was the motion?
I'll offer a secondary motion. I
Ooh.
think that's what it is. I move that we authorize up to $18,000 out of that same fund. Give him a little wiggle room. Get him in. He asked 15
I
to
was waiting
20.
for a second so
Give
I
him a
could
little
discuss.
wiggle room.
My question
Well,
is,
then, if you'll let me
yeah,
handle it.
please, sir, yes.
There is a secondary motion. If we don't hear a second, then we'll go back to the primary motion. But he has moved that we use up to $18,000 of the money given by the county.
He's
Is
at-
there a second?
Somebody price it right this right now.
Hearing none, that motion fails. Mr. Nash has moved. May I have a second on the original?
Second.
And Mr. Almond moves. Mr. Cormus, you have the floor for discussion.
I guess my question is, if there's 50,000 there to use for Wrigglesworth, why are we capping how much to spend to get it done? If 50 is the number that we have for
The county gave us 50, but I don't think that's enough for the scoreboard and any
Scoreboard and all
bleachers that
that.
might have to be purchased, okay? And I was kind of reserving that, but the cash is available. I mean, it's sitting in your money
The only
market
reason I
account, we can
mentioned
do it.
15, as I've learned up here, it's a lot easier to cinch the bell at the beginning than you know they're gonna come at the end, ask for more. Now, when I say they, I'm talking about Dan and the guys. So let's cinch it here. We can try to pinch pennies at the beginning. Don't wait until the end to do it, because guess what? Your pennies are gone by then. This is simply, instead of 20 grand, like Philip said, we're gonna try.
I'll come back to you guys, but the whole 50
Let's
is
see what
available
we can
for
work
that
with.
particular.
I
Because like I'm saying, man, the Gators still
be
got
done anyway.
All right, well, then you need to offer secondary motion
Maximize the
to
number.
remove the limit. Because I have a motion on the floor to limit it to
A
15,000.
motion to remove the limit to get Wrigglesworth completed,
Y'all don't pay me enough for
as
this.
it was gonna be finished last fall.
Mr. Gormas has offered a secondary motion to make these,
No more than 50, I mean, it's 50 there. Was that even in our budget, or is that something that we got from the county,
No,
right?
what happened was, we went up to the county
Right, I
and got
understand.
this $50,000
Second for discussion.
to complete this project.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
when we did this, we had not did anything as far as the concession stand or anything.
Right. I get it.
is it, are we talking about the bids to get rid of the asbestos? Or am I on another
No,
plan?
we're talking
I'm-
about
I told you
Wrigglesworth.
I'm tired. Why is that in number
Drive you home
4?
tonight.
But it is in number 4.
I get where you're coming from.
Because I'm confused. Now, I do have I'm
It
gonna
says,
I'm gonna stop this madness, okay? So I have a secondary motion from Mr. Gormas, removing the cap and doing what?
Up to $50,000.
I know, but what are we trying to get done here?
To finish
Finishing the
Wrigglesworth.
job.
Finish Wrigglesworth.
No, finish the concession
Concession
stand.
stand, okay. So we have a motion and a second to finish the concession stand with,
We have a motion.
I seconded it for
Mr.
discussion.
Page, Mr. Page did move. So Mr. Gormas has moved, Mr. Page has seconded to complete the concession stand. Is there any discussion on that motion?
I have a question,
Yes, ma'am.
because I don't want to be here all night either. However, this Gator Fair, I keep hearing about the Gators. They're not going to be the only one primary using that field.
Yes, they are.
They are?
yes, they are.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that. My next question is, what is the Gators doing for the county to get this fee? I know they're nonprofit, but are they paying for anything?
Yes, they are.
Okay, that's
See,
what I
but-
want to know.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as they're putting something
They're gonna
in.
put something in, but you gotta see what a lot of people fail to realize. The Gators are self-sufficient. Don't nobody give the Gators nothing. And the Gators have high insurance and all this, so they doing the best they can with what they got. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they doing
expectation-
fundraisers and things like that? They
Yeah,
have
they
raised
do
money.
fundraisers. If you ever go out to Walmart, you see they have Krispy Kreme out there twice a year.
I
So,
think
yeah.
you'll see that the Gators will pretty much be the sole user of the concession stand. But my hope is, again, we go back to public space, I hope that it's utilized for
Other things.
soccer
Soccer
games
or
outside of
whatever.
football
That's my
season,
whole,
whatever.
that's my
Yeah,
take.
but see, right now,
Everybody uses
primarily,
field.
we can't say because we don't know what the soccer thing is.
Yeah.
Because I remember one year, man, and we talked about this. There was over 200 some kids out there, Wrigglesworth, for soccer. But where are they now? Yeah, there was over 200 kids out there to practice soccer. So
Call for the question.
Any other discussion, council? We have a motion made by Mr. Gorman, second by Mr. Page, to complete Wrigglesworth
Concession stand.
concession stand. Although, how much money are we talking about here? 15,000.
Just
I
said
asked for a roll
he
call
said
vote.
unlimited. He said it's unlimited.
50 was the number, right? That's what you got?
50,000.
All right, I asked for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Praise the Lord, we have 7-0 vote. Moving on now to my Wrigglesworth that captured my attention. Item number 4, please take over.
Please bring up that picture. That is the interior of the school building that we have slated for demolition over at Wigglesworth Stadium. As you can see, the ceiling to the right of the hallway has completely collapsed and is now no longer whatsoever viable. Also in the hallway, the reason I put the picture in there, you see the white tiles on the floor? Those are all asbestos floor tiles. And we've been given a cost estimate about $35,000 to remove them. Here's the problem, if we don't get them out of there, they're gonna end up in the basement because the floors are completely decomposing. I can wait on the demolition until we're ready to go and we have resources and all such things, but the county has waived the tipping fees. But for any of the other tipping fees or fuel or whatever other costs, but I need to get the asbestos off the floor in there.
Which building is that now?
That's the one-story 1930s era school building that's located.
It was a high
That
school,
red
wasn't it?
brick building that's one level.
You look at
And
the
the
building all the way on
two-story
the
building doesn't look a whole lot better than that. It's just
Yeah.
that the roof is not nearly as open and exposed.
So you just wanna solicit bids?
I want to solicit bids on the
Asbestos.
getting the asbestos out, and that's going to give me also time to figure out how to pay for it, so I can answer Eric's question next month.
You've heard the manager's request, is there a motion? Mr. Nash moves, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams, second, any discussion about, soliciting these bids for asbestos removal? Hearing none, I'll ask for a voice vote, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank the Lord, I move away from that. Item number 5, the Taylor Bottom Block Grant. Mr. Manager?
I don't think we have a dramatic amount to share with you tonight, but I think there is a letter from Chastity included in the packet, and been provided to each household in the Taylor's Bottom, asking them to put together things like deeds and leases and Ms. Nguyen, if you have any other questions. But I do think we're going to have a challenge putting these numbers together, or not these numbers, but these documents together for each home, okay? It's anything we can do, and I think once we receive this planning grant, we're gonna start getting really serious about meeting with people and having events here at Town Hall or events at the LCCDC building, wherever we can have them, to get people to bring in documentation to show they own the property and who owns it, all the power of attorney, any of those kinds of things,
That's
okay?
the hardest part.
It's gonna be a tough thing, for sure.
Because I can tell you from the grant we had, people, you know, I don't know whether they just wait until the last minute or whatever, then somebody gets slapped. Because you don't have your stuff in. But if you take heed and listen to what the people tell you, you'll come out better.
I think a lot of people, unfortunately, and anybody listening or in the audience, if you die without a will, it really makes a mess of things.
I was about to say that, the biggest
will.
problem is the fact that people don't prepare for their ongoing, and they don't have legal documentation as to what's going to be passed on to the next generation or the next family member upon their demise. So that needs to be taken care of.
People need to have a will, for sure.
What, I guess, puts a more work on somebody, but what can we do as a town to help the people that are
That may
most
be
likely
part-
to have a problem?
That may be part of the planning grant process, is that legal fees will be paid to try to get an attorney. Most folks aren't gonna be able to pay $1,000.
I mean, there are.
Oh,
there-
tell me, I already know I'm
People
dealing with my 92-year-old dad now, just with power of attorney.
I think legal, having attorneys help clean it up, get things recorded properly. Any kind of liens that may need to be released, have them released, because there's a lot of unreleased liens up at the courthouse, in every courthouse.
Yeah,
That may be part of what we have to do.
I mean, I don't know how many people, residents there are down through there, but I mean, that's just something to think that it might be a visual kind of
It could
approach.
we didn't have a terrible time at East End. It wasn't horrible.
Because one thing about the East End, see, we stayed on top of it. And once it got, see, what it is, once this thing gets started, it's a repetitious thing. And you got to stay on it. And like I say, a lot of people just do not like to fill out applications, and they don't have their stuff together. So
Well-
now whoever's the ward leader down there, or the ward leader, or whatever we can, Smart Plug should be out there now.
But I will tell you this, if we can't get enough participation, we can't apply for a construction grant.
Right.
There's a lady who's been.
Yeah, we need to
That's
get people
the thing
excited.
about that.
Ms. Williams?
I have a question, a recommendation rather. East End, you guys already did the work, you did the project, you did the map. I would like to recommend that some of the East End members get with Chastity and talk to the,
Telebottom.
Telebottom, so they'll know that us talking about it, cause they
I
still
have
don't
no
know.
problem with that.
But I mean, no, I mean, just have a forum,
Yeah,
so
I
they
have
can
no-
come in,
right.
have their questions answered, so they don't have to go through all of this rigmarole. You guys already did it, pass on your knowledge to them, so we can get the houses done.
Can you,
Communications is key.
can you put together a meeting in these chambers? And, I'll be here, and anybody that wants to come, they'll be able to ask questions, and we'll give them the most briefing we can, and they'll be, if they can't make it, they can look at it on YouTube, okay?
Because the further you get ahead, the better off you are.
Anything,
There are roughly 62 resident, properties down there with people living in the homes. To apply for the planning grant, we needed majority of the residents to fill out a survey and show that they would, participate. And we got about 85% response back that they would. The only issue is a lot of them are heirs to property and have not switched the deeds over. So, we're speaking with Philip, our thing was to try to get leeway to help us, help them as much as we can to get the properties put into their name. So when we do apply for the actual grant, they're somewhere in the step of the process going forward. So they won't be hindered or feel like this is gonna be a long drawn out process or there's nothing we can do. So we're trying to start now. So by the time we actually get to that point, we're ready to roll.
That's
And
great.
and it is a drawn out process. It's not something that's gonna be done in a matter of days or weeks.
That's why
Okay.
you need a good spark plug.
anything else about Taylor Bob?
No.
We're gonna move on to item number 6, and I have a brief comment I'd like to make before you brief the council. On January 8th, Manager Van Orbeck, Chastity Bryant, and myself attended the Tobacco Commission meeting in Richmond. And I'm pleased to report that Ms. Bryant has cultivated relationships with the commission staff, and she's become an expert in receiving grant funding, and that she conducted herself in a very professional and competent manner. I understand Manager Van Orbeck's hectic schedule, and I doubt he would have the time to do this tedious work. Without Chastity's efforts, above and beyond her duties, I personally doubt the town would be able to fund the Armory project. I just wanted to thank you in public, Chastity, you're doing a great job. I do, during the mayor's minute, have some more remarks about our staff, but I wanted to take that opportunity as it came up. Very impressive the way you handle yourself, and, you and I agree that cultivating relationships, building trust, opens a lot of doors, so very well done. Mr. Manager, if you don't mind, would you brief council?
On January 8th, 2024, the town was awarded an additional $121,000 in grant funding specific to the kitchen and the armory. The estimated cost for the kitchen is $247,000. As such, we continue to seek funds from additional sources. One of those additional sources is the Southeast Crescent, which is administered through the Virginia Department of Housing Community Development. It includes most of the southern states from here to Louisiana and Arkansas and Mississippi, and this is a program that can provide grant fundings in the southeastern states. We have a resolution which I think is pretty benign. Sadly, we didn't get it till this afternoon. So we are asking you no additional commitment in cash, but it is an application, an authorization to apply for $500,000 from the Southeast Crescent, and that would complete the kitchen and any other construction.
You think you could get $120,000 from Southeast Crescent? What's the grant?
We're asking for $500,000.
Okay, I move that we authorize you guys to apply. for
This is
that.
just to apply, and Chastity said it would make the application stronger, as they told her today.
It's not necessary for the application, but it would look good when we apply to turn this in. So, I've been working with, Commonwealth Regional Council, and so see if we can get it put on there tonight, it's kinda last minute, see what I can do. But the 500,000 is to go toward the construction and kitchen.
I think that finishes you up.
Is it 500,000?
I think it'll
No
do the
change?
project, yeah. I mean, they started working today. Contractors were here today.
Mr. Nash, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Move to apply for $500,000 from Southside Crescent, you said?
Southeast,
Southeast Crescent.
And to adopt this resolution?
Is that this resolution?
yes.
And adopt this resolution.
The resolution that was presented to you. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Page seconds. Is there any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Number 7 is weatherization, Mr. Manager.
I don't have anything at this time. I think we need to get through these 2 workforce houses, and we have not put our $50,000 contribution for this fiscal year aside yet, so we still have some work to do before we can jump in any more projects. But typically, we do $50,000 a year. The county did give us 40, and we'd like to have our money plus the county's money when we get into doing some additional homes.
So in other words, we won't be coming out with the weatherization
We'll do it this fiscal year, but it'll be later in the
just
fiscal.
later in the year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to make sure.
All right.
Can I,
Excuse me.
if I might,
Absolutely.
just float an idea that just hit me, and if I'm out of line, just slap me. In in a case like this, weatherization is about improving homes to have them better prepared for the weather, cold weather specifically, I guess.
Primarily, to get a
Okay.
light bill down.
Okay. I'm glad you said that. So, is it crazy to even consider some of that funding potentially used to help people that can't pay their light bill during those winter months?
That would be one of the options if council wanted to do that. I was floating the idea that maybe we could put something on the bills where people can donate
Yeah.
to a fund. I think
We gotta
larger
do something.
utilities
I mean,
do
we
that
have
stuff.
to. It's true. I mean, I know utility bills is a big deal here lately. It's always a deal, no doubt about it. But
What I'd rather do,
for this past weekend, and
you're gonna see some nasty bills come out next month.
I mean, that's not just that, but how many people got cut off last week? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't have to throw a number out there.
Okay.
I've heard, and believe me, it's ugly. You know, it's sad.
The big bill hadn't come out yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, that's what I'm saying. If it's something we could use these funds for, if we're not doing something to improve somebody's home, then why couldn't we possibly consider that?
I would like to maybe do with a match. You know, people make donations. And you donate $5 on your bill every month or $10 on your bill every month if you wanted to do that. And it could go specific to the kinds of things. And then try to maybe do a challenge match, you know, the town will match. These kinds of things, if you'd like to do
We
that.
gotta come up with some ideas, no doubt about it.
I'm gonna take care of this during referrals, okay? Cause I think it's an excellent idea, all right? Anything else? Number 9 is the roundabout. You have anything to report?
Nothing to report, no?
New business, item number 1 is a resolution.
I think you missed workforce housing.
No, he talked about workforce housing, didn't he? All right, well, I thought you kinda combined 7 and 8. Go ahead,
That's what I thought too.
yeah.
Number 8, workforce housing. We have 2 houses under construction, one on Broad and one on Dillard. Both are under roof. They were wiring and plumbing the house located on Broad Street today, and they're still doing the framing work on the other. Looking good, getting there. And we've received our first drawdowns on them. And remember, we were paid back for the first house, so we can pay our bills out of the cash on hand. And then at the end, we should end up, when these 2 houses are finished and we're paid back, a couple $300,000.
I've never seen them working as fast as they are. I really haven't. Now I've been involved with for 3 years, and I've never seen this workforce.
The contractor's got the 2 workforce houses is probably our strongest contractor.
I mean,
that
they
getting
rolling.
stuff done, yeah.
It's unbelievable because I think Miss Gilchrist will probably be in her house the end of the month.
Moving on.
I think so.
New business number 1. Manager Van Norbeck is requesting council to adopt a petition to include Rolling Acres Lane into the VDOT system.
Second, with a question.
Mhm.
Out of,
This is Mr. Almond and Mr. Nash, correct?
correct,
And discussion, Mr. Nash, you have the floor.
says we will be allocated $4,800 annually.
Mhm.
Just rough idea, what is gonna be our cost annually?
Oof.
Or it may not be annually, but how do we really get reimbursed? Are we gonna come out to the good on that? I know that's just a tar and chip.
If you look at $4,800 for the first few years, you're gonna be in the black, because we're not gonna have to do anything down there. When you have to pave it, you're gonna drop $20,000 paving it, so yeah, you'll be in the red for several years. Are you making money doing this? No. And this is all based on the state formula of $4,800, based on lane mile. And about $4,800 annually that you will receive because the additional lane miles that are on the, UPC 1 or U1 form. And, no, I can't say it's a moneymaker. Because the year that you do have to pave it, you're gonna go in a hole.
And this one, how many years down the road, roughly?
I don't know how well that tar and chip.
I would say there's a fairly low traffic count on that, so that's probably a 7-8 year street. But because College Road gets pounded pretty good, we'll probably pave it at the same time we would do College the next time because we try to do neighborhoods at a time. But we'll probably be able to skip it the next go round, but typically we would pave it at the same time.
Being that is not paved currently,
It is paved.
tar and chip versus paving.
Tar and gravel, yeah, yeah.
Would we go back over that with asphalt?
No,
Or we
it would just
still-
be a tar and gravel street. Yeah, secondary streets like that, we typically now, East End, grant money and match and all that kind of stuff, and, we use VDOT monies, to pave those streets over. But typically, this would be a tar and gravel street, which is a shot of 8s and then a top coated 9s. Okay.
Mr. Almond, are you including authorizing me to sign this resolution in your motion? Is there any other discussion? I ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item number 2 is, Mr. Taylor Quick is moving out of town and he is resigning from the IDA. He has also made a recommendation. I ask council to take up his resignation. Is there a motion to accept Mr. Taylor Quick's resignation from the IDA?
So moved.
Mr. Page moves, Mr.
Second.
Miller seconds. Any discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Green, for your service to the town.
Yes, thank you.
We accept this with regret and appreciation, is that correct?
Yep.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries 7-0. Mr. Quick has recommended a fine young man that I know personally, Mr. Robert Motley, to take his place. At this time, I would accept a motion to open the floor for nominations for this position.
So moved, nominating Robert Motley.
Well, let me open the floor for nominations, please. Can I have that motion? Open the floor?
He made the
You just
nomination
gonna
of
skip?
Robert
You just-
Motley that-
What
Alright.
we saying, man? You moving slow tonight.
I'm moving slow.
Moving slow
Man,
tonight.
I was rolling till y'all got me in a bind. Okay, well, we don't have to go through the procedure, but technically,
I can make
technically
a
I'm
motion to
supposed
open
to,
the floor for
okay, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay.
All right, so 6-1, motion carries 6-1. The floor is now open for nominations.
Nominated Robert Motley.
Any other nominations?
I moved to the close nomination.
Mr. Nash moves, is there a second? Second to close the nominations.
Second.
Ms. Nguyen seconds. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, Mr. Page. Motion carries 7-0. I'd entertain a motion to appoint, Mr. Robert Motley to the IDA.
Is this a town of Blackstone,
Yes.
organization? I move that we dissolve this organization. It hasn't met in a very long time, and these people are becoming members and not meeting at all.
We've met, for the inn.
I think
IDA
once,
met with the inn.
yeah,
Okay. Let
years
me-
ago.
Before we have any discussion, let me see if I got a second. So, Mr. Page moves
To
to
dissolve.
dissolve the IDA, the Industrial Development Authority. Is there a second? Is there a second, council? Hearing none, that motion is lost. I ask for a motion to approve, Mr. Robert Motley for this position on the IDA.
So moved.
Mr. Nash moves, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams, second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. New business number 3, Mr. Van Orbeck, you have an out-of-town trash collection request.
I'm gonna ask Brittany to make sure I state all the facts correctly. According to the write-up, David Bolter contacted Clerk Daniel December 21st concerning trash pickup at his home, which is outside of town limits, and it's on 10th Street, or it may be Lakeside Drive, but it's very close to the town limit. Mr. Bolter does not have utilities with the town, but did have his trash picked up in the past. And what that arrangement was, I don't know, until staff realized he did not have utilities. How was he billed, Brittany, do you know?
Did you look at the council?
Okay, moving on. He's requesting to have his trash pickup reinstated. And, I don't know if he was paying or if he was being billed.
I'm assuming he was probably paying the out of town trash rate.
And it probably came about, because Molly, you just moved out there, didn't you? And that's probably when they figured out.
It may
that
be the case, but
He wasn't having utilities, so.
if you don't have utilities, how are they getting a bill sent to them is the question. Yeah, I don't think it was getting a bill, okay? Trash had been picked up for years. It may have been from back when Joe Werby lived in the house.
Can we
Who
look
knows?
into it and see if there are any other trash,
There is one other,
collections on that street beyond town limits?
I don't think there's any other collections, but there is one specific that we do, and the matter of policy for the town was, if you don't have water, sewer, or electric service, one of the three with the town, that we weren't gonna pick up your trash, but there's a tremendous number of trash customers that are on the utilities, specifically Frankie Williamson's shop, places like that up on that, Cox Road extension, so,
So am I hearing you correctly, that you're asking for an exception to town policy, or
I am not.
Mr. Bolter is asking for an exception to town
He's
policy?
asking for an exception to town policy.
I would like to see what else is down there. Is it, I mean,
Okay.
it's literally right there where we turn around, so I don't know.
What is he doing?
Mr. Page, you have the floor.
This is the end of 10th Street that goes down by the lake
Before you go to the lake.
before you go. What,
It's right past Pete Ellington's house.
I mean, there's potential customers there to pick up trash, even if they're not on water and sewer.
But then you have to have a separate bill prepared. Then you have to manually do bills on QuickBooks or on,
Well, they would get a bill, but it would, on their bill, it would be the same as everybody else. It's just be for water, I mean, for trash, for out-of-town trash.
you're gonna
But
have to do a
can we
separate
just
account.
poll the neighborhood and see if anybody else is interested in doing trash? We might be able to pick up some customers. It wouldn't take us long to knock out that little section of the road.
Good project for Miss.
I will research and let you know.
Thank you. Yeah,
So
no,
we have two options. We can, the manager's, what is your recommendation? To deny the request? Is that what you're saying?
Unless there's additional information, I would deny the request.
So we can either deny the request, or we can postpone this until another meeting so that you can get this data. So
Can
I'll
we
need
table it?
we can postpone it.
I'll make a motion that we postpone it until we get the actual figure.
Next month.
Facts.
It'll be-
The
it'll be
8th
next month.
The 8th or or the
Regular
22nd,
meeting.
regular
Regular
meeting?
meeting.
Okay, Mr. Miller has moved that we postpone this request until the regularly scheduled meeting in February. Is there a second?
second.
Mr. Page seconds. Any discussion?
Because we're waiting for the facts? What facts?
The fact she gotta get about other.
The fact that he lives out of town?
No, the fact that there might be some more people that
More
want to get
people
on it.
that live out of town that might want the track?
Yeah,
So they can opt in or out, depend,
huh?
I mean, so other people in that path on down by the lake and all say, yeah, I want in, next one says, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I will say it gets confusing like in Cole Harbor,
I mean, I can't imagine.
because our trash guys they don't know who paid and who don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
we have to
they-
ask
it-
them when
it's-
they come sign up for service, do you want trash pickup or no?
And then it gets confusing to our trash guys, they don't know
Because that's out of
if
town,
people
you can
actually
opt in
paid.
or out.
Yeah, so if you put your trash can out there and the garbage guys don't know for sure,
They're
then
not
They're gonna
the
pick
issue.
it up.
yeah, they may
Okay.
not know for sure.
You'll end up picking a bunch of trash up from people that don't
That
pay
aren't
for it.
paying, yeah.
If you don't make it
I
mandatory, and you
wasn't
can't
aware
make it
of that.
mandatory in the county.
I wasn't aware that that was happening, that's why I was asking.
Anybody that moves in Cole Harbor and they set a trash can out, guys drive by, there's a trash can, they grab it, and they never get billed for it. And I think that's what happened with Mr. Bolter. They put the trash out and garbage men been getting it.
All right,
That's
so-
why some and not others is not a good idea.
But I don't want it to turn into a Cox Road water line where we're surveying people for 20 years though. But I think if we, what's our out-of-town trash rate if they don't have, you know?
I think it's half again more than or double what the in-town rate, so probably $35 or something.
I mean, to me, if I live out of town, it's a lot better than going to that dump that's, has dates and times.
Right.
That community may wanna do it, and it's at the end of a street that's in the middle of our town anyway, in a dead end, so we might as well go in there and ask them.
Where is it at?
But I think
10th
in
Street.
Cole Harbor, we have utilities with them, so we know to ask them when they come in, do you want trash?
Right, when they sign
With
up
these
for
people
service.
out here, they won't ever come in here to ask because they don't have any utilities.
Yeah,
Am I
yeah.
Yeah, they
correct?
don't have water or electric there, right?
Is
Can we
maybe,
make sure that there's nobody else on that street that the trash is getting picked up?
is there no way to clarify this in Cole Harbor, whether, well, you can't mandate because it's not in
It's
town.
not, it's a county, so we can't mandate it, right? But they still have the option
We give them an option.
Because they have utilities with
Yeah.
the town.
You have a motion and a second to allow staff to do some research and come back on the February 7th continued meeting.
In the meantime, are we stopping pickup?
On this particular
Yeah,
customer,
that's
we've
not-
stopped pickup on this
Yeah.
In
particular.
the meantime, can you see how many pay for trash pickup in Cole Harbor?
Yeah.
Maybe it's worth saying no trash pickup in Cole Harbor.
Yep, I do.
Just give us,
I mean, it may only be that 5 of them really pay for it down there, but we're picking up
If
30
it's out
of
of
them.
town, you just don't get, yeah.
yeah, so y'all can give us a report. I have a motion and a second to, Mr. Miller has moved that we postpone disposition of this till the 7th of February based on staff's recommendation.
Not the 7th, the regular meeting.
Regular meeting.
Regular meeting on, and what date is that, please?
That is going to be the 26th, because the 19th is a holiday.
February 26th. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries 7-0. Item number 4 is use of the town batting cages. Coach Travis Andrews is,
Become a consent.
Coach Travis Andrews has made a very reasonable request to use the town's batting cages on rainy days. His email spells out the actions he will take and other pertinent information.
I move that everybody, that we allow the Nottaway softball varsity team to use the facilities as needed.
So moved.
And Mr. Miller seconds, Mr. Nash moves. Is there any discussion?
As we acted as the county Parks and Rec Department, might as well let the whole county enjoy it.
Is there any discussion? Very benign request. I ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That all our business tonight? We're ready for committee referrals?
Come on.
All right. The first committee referral I have, I need you to stay up here at the podium because you're probably gonna have to help me, please. I wanna, had a discussion today with, and other discussions, with the manager about 222 Forest Drive. Something to the effect of, a better solution, cheaper solution, or whatever. Would you, and I'm gonna refer this to Street and Light, but will you update us on?
We have bid out, as you know, the Northwest Avenue project and waiting bids to come back. We set aside $140,000 to do both projects. B&B Consultants, unsolicited, came to me and said, this is a really expensive solution that you guys have come up with. And we've got the plans, we're ready to bid it. He said, I can give you a recommendation that you don't get any water going across the street, just like this proposes, without putting as much pipe in. It would require doing some work on a bank. If you ever go around that curve, there's a pretty steep bank. I'd like to take a look at it. Be a lot quicker, a lot cheaper, and you wouldn't have to put as much pipe. In addition, they're concerned that the pipe design that they've got in there will be ultimately in conflict with the force main and the gravity line that comes in there. So we'll have to take the force mains and do it. You can't change the gravity flow, but you can change the pressure line. And we'd have to put a series of 22 bends in there, and that would drive the cost up.
All right,
Both
so-
of those lines run through.
They designed the plan originally?
They did.
So I'm gonna
But
be.
they did, no, Chris, don't laugh.
Under our,
We were told how to do this, and they did exactly what they were told.
Right. I thought this would happen.
So I'm gonna be referring this
I
to
know
your,
what happened.
I'm gonna refer this to your committee, Street and Light.
Okay.
Also, I'm gonna refer to Street and Light Committee to look into removing the trees on Main Street that are in the sidewalk. I know of 3, areas where the sidewalk is buckled up and it's creating a considerable trip hazard. So I asked the committee to take that up.
Where's this at?
Main Street, and the manager knows of several places too. We just did one in front of Montcure Insurance, and I think there's 3 more I know of.
What was the cost of those?
I haven't gotten an invoice yet on it, but
No, the ones
Trees
where
were
they donated.
donated.
I bet you we spent $6,000-7,000.
Right, you
Putting that
talking
in.
where you finished
But it was
the-
bad. Now, if you guys ever walked through there, it had heaved probably an inch and a half. It was appreciable.
And then there was one right there by the old bank too. Did we get that one?
We got one there a couple years ago, but the most egregious ones are over in front of the antique mall.
Antique Mall, Miss Barry Nisham's place. So I'm gonna refer that to,
And some poor fella tripped on it. We had already ordered it with Jason to go on and do the work based on our construction contracts that we have with him. And last Wednesday, somebody tripped on the daggone thing and scuffed up his face.
The other item for, street and lights is I've compiled a list